All eyes are on Texas in this election, not only because hypothetically, if Texas were to go for Joe Biden, that's pretty much it for the election, at least electorally. And also because I lived in Texas for a number of years, but I can't visit there right now. So you know what we did? We found someone who's been doing some amazing reporting actually in Texas on the ground. The Guardian's US Southern Bureau Chief, Oliver Lachlan, welcome to the Damage Report.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Very glad to have you here. You have a video of you interviewing both some candidates in Texas as well as regular voters. There's a lot that I want to get into. What did you find most surprising as you investigated what direction Texas is going in?
Well, I think the thing that I found most surprising was there is a very real and palpable feeling amongst Democrats that this state is in play. We can talk about record voter registration that's been happening in Texas. And also, obviously, as we all know, the sort of rapidly changing demographics of the state. So the fact that Hispanic Americans are going to be the majority in Texas by 2022 is having a seismic impact on the way in which presidential and congressional politics and political campaigning, I think, is working in the state at the moment.
Well, so you mentioned their voter registration. I had seen, I haven't confirmed independently, but that Travis County in particular, something like 97% of the eligible voters has registered to vote, which seems even pretty hard to believe. But are you seeing evidence in your research that this is fundamentally different than in past elections? Because Democrats have been saying Texas is on the cusp of turning for some time now. So what seems different this time?
I mean, I think that's certainly true. So my reporting was based in two locations. I think probably the most relevant one to talk about is 24th Congressional District, which has been a stronghold for the Republican Party for just under 2 decades. And the incumbent congressman, Kenny Marchant, has sort of retired, and it's now 2 first-time congressional candidates going at each other, who I think almost sort of emblematic of the changes and the stasis that's happening on both sides of politics at the moment. So Candace Valenzuela, who is running for the Democratic Party there, is running to become the first afro-latina elected to Congress. She is a progressive Democratic candidate who used to serve on her local school board, and I think in many ways kind of embraces and is representative of the changes that are going on in that district. This is a suburban district. And like I said, she's been there for a long time and is really sort of building what I would say is a grassroots coalition of progressives from all different walks of life. She's running against a woman called Beth Vandyne, who you may remember from 2015 caused a lot of national controversy after she suggested that a newly constructed Islamic tribunal in the city of Irvine, of which she was the mayor of, could lead to Sharia law in the city. And so to me, she was a pretty strong embodiment of kind of Trumpist republicanism. And these two people are facing off against each other in a sort of rapidly changing suburban district that could very well, for the first time, go Democratic.
So how many years into Sharia law in that district are we at now?
0. I mean, unfortunately, one of the things that we came into contact with was Vandyne not wanting to talk to us, and so we reached out to obviously both sides of the aisle because we want to be representative of both sides of political views there. Candace, who is campaigning from home, so she has an immunocompromised younger son, and she lives with an elderly mother-in-law, is doing her entire campaign from home. So they're not door knocking, she's not going out, she's doing everything on Zoom and that sort of thing. Beth is out and about door knocking and has been since we were there. We were there a short while ago now. And unfortunately, her campaign initially told us that there were no in-person events for us to attend. I could see that she was out campaigning and door knocking, and we were a bit concerned that wasn't necessarily truthful. She then took to Twitter and decided to call me a liberal hack, which again is pretty indicative of the times we're living in, I think.
Yeah, geez. Wow, you're really fitting a lot of what the Republican Party is in just a little bit of reporting. Okay, so you've said a little bit about the changing demographics in terms of just who lives in Texas. There were some people talking in the video that you put up of that they've seen that there's a lot of immigrants coming in and living there. I'm interested. I don't know if you saw this. There was some sort of write-up in the past few days talking about how the GOP efforts over the past decade or two to really make Texas as business friendly as possible might have led to a lot of companies, including tech companies, coming in that then draw liberals into the state. Did you see, I know you were only in 2 locations, but did you see any evidence that immigration inside of the US was bringing liberals to Texas and that might have an effect?
It's certainly a Republican talking point, and a lot of the Republicans who did want to speak to us, so we spent some time with the Tarrant County GOP, were kind of talking about that. One of the things that I really came into contact with, actually lifelong Texas residents who were the children of immigrants. These are kind of young first-time voters who were able to vote for the first time in a presidential election. So we spent some time on a college campus, Texas Women's College, where a group called Jolt Action, who are a progressive Latinx voter registration group, were out trying to harness some support for trying to get people registered. They're nonpartisan. And it was very, very palpable to me that a lot of the people they were speaking to were first-time voters who had come from, whose parents had not been born in this country, some of whom had crossed the border themselves, were motivated by what they had seen the administration do over the past 4 years at the southern border. A lot of people were appalled at child separation. They were appalled at construction of the wall, and were really talking about using the power of their vote to try and make change. Now, obviously, we can talk about all the voter suppression efforts that exist in Texas at the moment. Most recently, a court decision that is now going to prevent early voting drop-off locations to just one location per county, which obviously, when you're talking about somewhere like Tarrant County that has over 1 million residents, is hugely detrimental to the democratic process there. But that aside, I really got a sense of a huge amount of enthusiasm amongst first-time voters from immigrant backgrounds who wanted to use their vote to make change.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.